down and done.
All right, so here we go. We're recording. Welcome, everybody. This is the pastor's office. I've got my good friend Cyle Young here from Heart of the Lakes UB. Kyle is the kind of guy he's a connector. He's an influencer. He has a gigantic personality, something I really appreciate about him. He's just a really, really great guy to be around. A lot of fun. A little bit crazy, a little bit unpredictable, but that's a good thing. So, hey, welcome to the pastor's office. We had a couple other guys scheduled to be here, but they bailed. And I hope they can feel, this is my judgy face. So I hope they feel the condemnation as they watch this from home. So, Kyle, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. I wish I was in an awesome library like you are, but I am not.
So, this is my green screen backdrop. This is my vision of heaven. This is what heaven is to me. It's a library filled with books.
Heaven is a library full of books. Okay.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, I want to read the ones down there in this corner. Yeah, it's good stuff. Hey, so here's the kind of the current status of the I don't know, the quarantine, the coronavirus. People have varying opinions about what this is and how to deal with it, but we're currently at 1.36 million cases worldwide, about 360,000 cases in the United States, and about 150 or so here in Jackson County. So it's getting closer and closer to home. And one of the things I want to, at least in the couple first editions, talk about the influence of this problem on the church. And how can the church specifically inside the cooperative, the churches that are working together, how can we work together to support one another, to find ways to cooperate? This is one of the ways we can cooperate. This idea has been around for a while of doing sort of a podcast format called The Pastor's Office. And we had some good ideas and it kind of got backburnered for a while, but now that we have, nothing else to do, we can do this. Have you been busier lately?
I have been busier now than any time I can ever remember. I think I just work 16-hour days at the moment. So some days longer than 16 hours, but
what would you say is keeping you busy?
Just church, keeping church moving, keeping people excited, and keeping people together and connected. Now we got to do all this extra programming. I think it's 10 times more work to pre-record a message and post it than it is just to do it live, especially when we don't have any team to work with. So like for our church, it's just myself and Cody. So it's two people doing the job of 15. So to make our service happen, because we do all the bells and whistles. And so that's a lot of work. So we have been running nonstop, creating extra content to keep connected, daily videos, those type of things. So yeah, it's work.
Now, do you do a lot of I've been sort of watching Kyle and Cody on the Edge of the Apocalypse, Kyle and Cody Radio. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's hilarious and somewhat odd at times, if I could be honest. But I think that's kind of like what you guys are doing. You're just trying to engage people, and you're just
trying to engage people. Yeah.
You're using your unique sense of humor to do it. And I appreciate that. So you're busier trying to help people stay connected. What are some of the things like that you're hearing from people in the church? What are some of their concerns? What's kind of the vibe?
I don't think our people are too concerned at the moment, just because it hasn't hit close to home yet. I think it's getting closer to home. I think now our people starting to know people that have coronavirus or who are on ventilators. I don't think we have too many that know people that have died yet. At least not in their close realm of influence, maybe distant through the internet. But I think it's going to get closer. It's going to get more real and severe, especially this week. Most people are under the understanding this week's going to be really bad news in Michigan with death toll. And so I think people are starting to really be more aware of personal safety. I mean, I went to Lansing last week and, stores were open. People had no gloves on, no mask. And then Pastor Cody went yesterday and everybody was gloved up, masked up because they're just getting hit hard. So I think that's coming for us in our community, even more so now. But I think until it really hits home for people, like where they know someone personally or a family member is really sick, I don't think people are going to take it as serious as they need to. I just got a message today from a youth pastor in New York City on a group that I'm in. And he's basically like, people take this serious. I got 2 teens with parents both on ventilators. Like, this is real. Like, and so that's kind of eye opening. That guy has a lot of posts, and there's no reason to make up that information.
Right.
So I think it's when you realize how significant this can be, I think we'll see a change over the course of this week about people's response to all of this. So,
Do you have a lot of people who are afraid to go out, who are laying low at home?
our elderly people but they still go to the grocery store. But other than that, we've had people who have been in the houses now for 5 weeks. So,
Yeah.
I think we're 4 weeks into the first case. So, and then we had people who were kind of not going anywhere before that. So, because we knew it was out west. So, I think that, we're 5 weeks in, 4 weeks in for others. I think for Cyle and Cody Radio, we're on day 24 or day 23 today. So since we've really had like the shelter in place, kind of lockdown mindset, or at least we knew that was coming. So it's been interesting, but most people are still pretty positive, but we'll see what this week and next week brings.
Yeah, I know for us, we had some folks who were, they were in the middle of kind of transitioning from a church to our church, and they were an older couple, and she had heart surgery, had heart valves replaced, had a stroke, was spent 45 days on a ventilator, and then passed away. And it's really unfortunate, because pastorally, I want to reach out to them. I want to be there for them. We want to do a funeral to honor the life of this lady who passed, and we just are kind of stuck. We just can't,
Right.
And so I think that's where I know for me pastorally, it's been a lot more phone calls, a lot more trying to connect with people that way virtually. And, I get some people on the phone and they're like, "Why are you calling me?" I'm just checking in. I'm just trying to
Yeah, I
virtually
get that. Like, we're
pastor.
fine. We don't need you to call us. Well, that's what I do. Like, I'm a
Right. Yeah.
pastor.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some questions people are asking about this? I know you have a lot of people who are kind of younger believers, maybe haven't been around for a while. What are some questions people are coming up with?
I got a lot of conspiracy theorists.
Oh,
So,
really?
because I think the younger people just don't think it's that big of a deal. So it's got to be some political thing, or like world government thing, or I've heard the mark of the beast thing. Like, it's just kind of, I've heard it everywhere. So, I don't subscribe to any of that per se, but I hear it, and so I do see the reality of what's happening as a global issue. It's not a localized issue for us here. So, because it's global, I tend to believe this is an actual medical emergency. So, as we're seeing, especially since I have friends across the globe who are like, "This is real,
Right.
take it serious."
Yeah.
But this, I think people are opportunists to try to create,
Mm.
fear based on all
Mhm.
these different, things that are going on. I heard Tom Hanks was in jail and in Australia, and all
Mm.
like pedophile ring, all this stuff, and just crazy theories
Wow.
that you hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your go-to theological response to people who are bringing up conspiracy theories?
I mean, this is, to me, it's the whole thing. Is this God's judgment? I
Yeah.
mean, we live in a broken world that we broke. So is this God's fault that we live in a place that's marred by sin, and if viruses are part of living in a sinful world?
Yeah.
I think we know at the end God is going to bring plagues of pestilence and virus. I mean, it's all going to happen. So I think that's where people kind of come to the question: is this the end? And I mean, it doesn't look like the end to me based on my understanding of Scripture. It just looks like another in many different strings of viruses that we're going to have to deal with. I
Right.
think there's just going to be more and more. Like, I would have thought the bubonic plague back in the 1400s was, most people thought that was the end of the world because it killed
Yeah.
a fourth of the world. So we're not there yet, but I think this is, I don't perceive this being the end. I think there's just going to be more in the future, and we're looking at one every 2 years. There's another big virus in the world. This
Mhm.
just happens to be one that affects a certain point of the population and spreads so rapidly. That I think that's the issue that we're dealing with here. And so I just think it's
Yeah,
life. I think it's
I think I
virus and
would
life.
I think I would pick up on like from a biblical perspective, we do live in a broken world. Adam and Eve's sin basically not just broke humanity, it broke the entire world. And I think isn't it Romans that talks about how the creation groans,
Yep.
waiting for redemption, and so this is part of the groaning, if you will, that even, the pain and suffering that we feel is part of brokenness, And so, um, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily, I mean, every day is a day in the end times, you know,
Yeah.
times have been ending for a while, and I don't think God is limited by our perspective, certainly. So, how long do you think this is going to last?
Oh, I think it's going to last till early next year. I think we're going to be dealing with this. I personally don't think we're going to be in a church until probably Mother's Day or after. And then if we are, it's going to be like 50 people, multiple services. We may have to have 6 services, or, we may have to use 2 different parts of our building and isolate
Yeah,
themselves from each other. So I just think this is going to go on. I mean, I look at the Spanish flu. I think they started in having deaths in like September or something like that, and they were still having deaths in December.
yeah,
So, and that was something that's comparable, I think, what they're saying to this. So, if that's the case, we're looking at, like they were saying, August, September, before we're really at the point where the deaths have just trickled down to a slow stop.
yeah.
And so I think we have to be cognizant of that. And I'm planning on long term. This is my new life as a pastor, just crazy busy
Hmm.
all the time. And, that's just the nature and necessity of it to survive.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it is something that's going to be around for a while. I think, the economic, when you have the world's largest economy, just say, okay, we're going to take some time off,
Mhm.
and then everybody else's economy is like, we're going to take some time off. I mean, it's great that the government is trying to pump liquidity into the system, but I think that cost has to be paid somehow.
Right.
We're spending tax money that our grandchildren haven't even earned yet. So, I'm a little bit concerned about that. And I think you're right. I think it's going to last a long time. Um, and I think the churches are going to have to find a way to connect with people. Thankfully, we do live in a digital age where we can use this kind of medium to connect with people. But I think there's a real concern for churches that have, debt and a high ratio of debt, who have to be making, not just salaries, but also mortgage payments. I think you guys are paid off. We don't have a mortgage or anything. So I think it
Praise the
is going to
Lord.
last a while. What's
Yeah.
that?
I said, praise the Lord. We don't have a
Yeah.
mortgage payment. It's great. So we
Yes.
had an interesting thing. We were looking at doing $150,000 addition, and we've just had nothing but problems since the
Mm.
fall. I mean, we worked on this thing really since last spring. So 9 months we were looking at expanding our lobby, maybe raising the roof, putting a new roof on, and it was going to be an expensive project. And like one person after another, like our architect was all excited about, then he disappeared from life for like 3 months. So we started over, found another architect. That guy disappeared for 2 months, and it's just like, man, God, we are not moving this thing forward. So
Mm.
we kind of just put a check in our spirit and said, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this is God saying this is not the time. And
Right.
so we kind of switched our goal, just decided to do a cheaper version of the project, and then ultimately this happened. So we could have been in in the middle of
Yeah.
a building project, and so we do think there was God's providence. I mean, it was just the craziest thing. We'd go to every meeting and we'd be frustrated because we weren't moving forward, and then
Mm.
we just started thinking, okay, God's got to be in this because there's no logical reason, because we had the
Right.
resources, had the time, everything, and the issue was we're so thankful now we didn't move forward.
Mm.
So I think God was protecting us in that, and so that's been a great blessing to not be doing that at the moment.
Yeah.
So
What do you think about the economic effects and the government's sending out checks and trying to keep the economy going? What do you think about all that?
I mean, if free money is great, I mean, we're going to pay for it eventually, either taxes or some way. We're all going to pay with it. The only thing I think that's beneficial is the entire globe is basically printing money. I just saw Japan just today is announcing a $1 trillion stimulus package. So it's not just us; it's everybody. And
Yeah.
so the advantage of if the whole world has to do it, it's going to be I think it's going to be less harmful to us overall because
Hmm.
everybody's doing it. I think if it was just us printing money, we would be hurting for a long time. So I
Yeah.
think the only advantage is everybody has to save their economy right now. And so I think it's going to be a net of just kind of wash across the board. That's going to be my thought. But we're going to feel this for the next decade for sure, I think, as
Yeah.
a society.
So what would you put in place for long term? I mean, maybe you're not a finance guy, but pastorally, you're thinking about how to take care of your people. If it's going to last a decade, how are you going to take care of your folks?
I think one of the things we're going to look at doing is, we had somebody give us like a $3,500 check for benevolence, which was awesome.
Wow.
And so as a pastor, like, how do you spend that? And our thought is, let's save it for the rainy day. Like, It's not
Yeah.
that bad for people right now. It could be really bad in 2 months. So maybe it's wiser to save that for when people are really destitute and really
Yeah.
need the help, and not when it's just they can make it. But I think food pantries, community food pantries, really supporting that. We do the food pantry, but I think that's going to need to be a bigger influence
Mm-hmm.
on our church. Is how do we support those essential things that people need to survive in difficult times. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
food pantry, clothing pantry, toys, we do toys at Christmas. So a lot of things that we do kind of mildly, I
Mm-hmm.
think are going to have to be a bigger emphasis for us moving forward and meeting
So
need.
toys for Christmas. I've been really interested in getting a Mustang. Do you think you guys could get me that toy for Christmas?
I mean, I could get you a little Mustang. So about that.
No, I want a real one. Anyway, never
I
mind.
got 99 cents to get that Hot Wheel for you.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that too. And we did open up like a pocket of, in our budget, we opened up a separate category of just benevolence because we didn't have a separate thing. We sort of had, the general fund that would just be in our savings account that we would use as needs came up. And thankfully, Pathway's characterized by a lot of very generous people. So if something really came up that somebody was hurting, one of those generous people would often just jump in and take care of it. But we opened a pocket of giving for just benevolence, and just so people could put money in that pocket. And then, somebody runs out of toilet paper, or whatever, there'd be the availability for me or somebody else to go to the store and just grab them what they need,
Right.
not toilet paper, because you can't get that now.
Depends on where you go.
Really, you got a line on some TP?
Do not go to one of the major stores. Go to one of the minor stores. Go to like Country Market. Don't go to Meijer or Walmart. Or Dollar General always seems to have toilet paper every time I go.
So if Jesus returns to earth today, let's say, you're talking to somebody and they're all, very concerned. And if Jesus comes to earth today, what would you encourage people to be doing?
I would be meeting the needs of your family spiritually. I mean, that's one thing we can do. I mean, we can't really meet each other's needs because we're not allowed to be together in any way. So the one thing I think is, like, if you're married, meet the needs of your spouse spiritually. And like we just did a series on be the right person for your spouse, be the right person for the person, you're trying to, like, relationship, the person that you're looking for, be the right person for them. But I think as parents right now, it's be the right spiritual leader in the life of your children. And, even from afar, just be impacting people in significant spiritual ways, whether it's calling in, checking with them, praying for them. Those spiritual disciplines are all we really have at the moment. So we should be growing in our spiritual disciplines and growing in our understanding of God and his love and how we share it with each other.
So as our circle has contracted, so we can't get out and do all the outreach that we'd like to do. We can't get out and do all of the encouragement that we'd like to do. But as our circle has contracted, you have the ability with the people that you're on lockdown with or quarantine or whatever you want to call it, the people that you're stuck at home with, you can be the hands and feet of Jesus to them. You can make sure that you're praying for them, praying with them. We have a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old with us frequently. And so I'm a little bit older. You have kids at home.
I do.
I'm at the age where I shouldn't have kids at home, but I do. I have a 6-year-old. And so one of the things that I had to do, I had a minute where I had to take a step back and just say, okay, this is the situation. What am I called to be or do in this situation? To be the best grandfather I can be. Is the best grandfather, on edge and grouchy all the time? No, that's not good. The best grandfather takes a step back, realizes, like you, my workday has extended a lot of times. I've got people asking me to do other things, which is great. Great that they want to stay connected. But I also have to remember that the people that I'm with are the people God has for me to be in a relationship with. What are some things that are really encouraging you as you've been stuck at home?
What has been encouraging me is, I haven't been really stuck at home. So I've been going to church every day, and seeing Pastor Cody, because we're both essential people to keep the church moving forward. And
I like that, essential.
Yeah, but that we've really just seen each other, so it's probably getting sick of me. But I think the encouragement is just seeing our people get it, seeing our people respond. Like, we do the silly videos, but our people love them. And we could do the daily devotional thing, but every church is doing that, and so we just said, let's just do something different. Let's just bring a little light humor into the day and positivity. And it's been a great response for our people. People look forward to it. We get messages when we haven't posted it by the end of the day. Where is it at? So I don't know that anybody's doing the devotionals, get those, where's your thing at message.
Right. Yeah.
But so I think that's been the part we've seen, is like people coming together, doing all kinds of things, playing trivia together, just being a church community from afar. And I think we're going to be stronger for it. So I think we believe we're most likely going to grow significantly over the course when we come back together, just because the reach we've been able to have online has been significant. And so that's, those are some positive things to see, that people have not given up yet. They all want to get back to church. They all miss church. Those are good things to hear. If people said we don't really miss church, that would be a bad thing. So I think those are the things that I think keep us moving forward.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I interrupted my sermon series to do I did a sermon called Quarantine. I looked at Leviticus because I didn't think many people would be looking at Leviticus, the restoration of a leper. And I said, there's a day coming where we'll be restored from this. God hasten the day. But there are a lot of folks who are saying things like, God is in control. I'm not doubting that God is in control. I'm not doubting that any of that. But we do live in a fallen world. And so how to speak to that in a way that isn't just kind of a surface level kind of a thing,
Right.
without respecting the complexity of the situation, without respecting how difficult it is. So like, I know for me, I wanted to do something. I didn't want to do what you and Cody are doing. That's not kind of who I am as a human being. That would be a difficult act to follow. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, but I wanted to do more of I don't know exactly what to do, to tell you the truth. I thought about doing like a Bible study kind of a thing. We're looking at the text of scripture, but again, there's a lot of good stuff out there.
Right. I've loved your zombie videos though, just saying. So
yeah, well,
that's
pretty much all I've got. I was expecting the other guys to be here to have some contrary opinions. Not a lot of controversy in this episode. Maybe we'll do that next time. But
yeah, sorry, I don't have much. I agree with you on these things, so I'm sorry.
Come here. Say hello to Mr. Kyle.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Can I play a game?
Yeah. Actually, you need to go ask Grandma because she's watching you right now. That's what it's like working from home, folks.
Hey, all right, everybody I talk to is working from home, so that's just kids are part of the equation now. That's not a bad thing. I do think work from home is going to be a bigger part of the future of this country. I think you're going to see a lot of companies realize they can cut costs by having their employees work at home, not need the overhead. So I think this day has changed everything. I think work. Do you think
that that's going to reduce productivity though?
I think, they say that when you look at productivity, people are more productive when they only work 4 days a week anyways, and they work 6-hour days. They're more productive than when they work an 8-hour day. I don't know that it will. I think people will work and get their jobs done and have the flexibility to still be a family. And I think when you look at work at home statistics, work at home is very successful for people that do it. And so I think that you're going to see a lot of these companies are like, listen, we don't need this big building. Let's sell it. But then that's gonna have a whole nother real estate issue across our nation. But I do think this is going to be, especially in some industries, such as the publishing world, which I'm heavily invested in, involved in it, is I think you're going to see that the publishing industry is going to be much more work at home based from this point forward, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming out to the pastor's office. Nice to hang out with you. Appreciate all your work. I'm looking forward to that next Cyle and Cody video.
We posted one today. Got more coming.
All right.
We're going to keep doing it until we're allowed to go back to our regular lives. So, who knows?
You might be stuck. You might be stuck doing Cyle and Cody for a long time.
That's okay. We can do it. That's what they get out.
So. Hey, thanks a lot for coming out.
No problem. Thanks, Todd.